Hey, this is John with Car Repairs Made Easy. We're working on a 2001 Ford Expedition with an automatic transmission. And here I am laying on my side or my back, and we're underneath the car. We're going to do a transmission fluid change with a filter. This vehicle has about 100,000 miles on it. It takes Mercon 5, which is the synthetic transmission fluid, and it's due to be done. So we're going to show you how to do this, try to minimize a mess, and show you can do this at home. It has 10 millimeter bolts all the way around the pan. So I'm going to start taking these out. And I'm using a power tool, but you can still do this by hand with a ratchet and a socket. This kind of speeds it up for us so we don't run 30 minutes of video. And what I suggest is to get the bolts out of both sides, and then we're going to take them out of the front and let it tip and get most of the fluid out. It's already starting to drip on me. So I'll put my pan there. Now it's dripping more. And what we have is, this is called a transmission funnel, this big pan here, and it's big enough to catch most of what comes out. And as we take each one out, it's going to drip a little bit more. This fluid, it's red, but you can see it's got a little brown tint to it. So it's about the time that she's due to be changed. Move that forward a little bit more. Now this is the one where it's really going to come out, because this is in the front. It's going to start dropping down. What you do is hold it up, get your bolt out. Now what I've done is there's still two in the back, but they're just loose. Okay, so we're going to let this tip down and spill out what we can, just like that. And this is going to minimize the mess so you don't get it all over your floor. I think I got 3 drips on the floor, but I caught most of it. And if you don't have this funnel and you just have one of these drain pans, you just got to try to center it as best you can, because it's round and it's really not the size of the pan. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out those last 2 back ones. Push back up on the pan. It should stop most of the dripping. Now remember, this has fluid in it, so it's got a little bit of weight to it. So you want to push up pretty good. Get these last 2 out. There's 1. There's 2. Now we're going to let the pan down. Just gotta tip it off to one corner and spill out what you can to minimize the mess. You see on this vehicle it has a reusable pan gasket, which means you can use this one. You don't have to use the one that's supplied with the new filter. Set this pan off to the side. And we'll pull the filter out. The filter's held in just by a grommet. See this orange grommet here? Should pull out. And I'm going to grab the new filter and some new gloves, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I'm going to show you how to clean the pan. You see all this furry stuff on the magnet? That's clutch material. If you see big chunks of metal, then you have an issue, but this is normal. It's meant to catch what comes off. Also, if your pan's never been off before, you see me pouring this fluid out. See this guy right here? This is going to be floating around in your pan. That tells me this pan's never been off before since it was new. This is actually the plug that was sitting in the transmission before they built the vehicle and shoved in the dipstick tube, and then that pushes it into the pan, and they just leave them in there. That's normal production. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain most of the fluid. And what works best on transmissions, if you're doing a valve body or anything like that, is brake parts cleaner. And you clean all of that residue, it's just clutch residue, out of the pan to get it nice and clean. That way none of this is breaking free and floating in your transmission.
This is definitely something you want to do in a well-ventilated area.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get as much of that off of the magnet as I can, because the magnet's actually glued in the pan. So we'll wipe all that stuff off of there. Hose it one more time and get the outside lip. Get the magnet clean. Get the last little bit here. Now every time I do one of these, you can do it if you want, but I don't recommend, unless you have a complete lint-free rag or a paper towel, do not wipe this out. You don't want any lint floating around there in your fluid. That looks pretty good. Clean off the gasket sealing area. And we're pretty much ready to go back in. So we'll get back under the car and we'll be right back. Okay, now we're back under the car. We have to put our new filter in. Okay, so we're going to go back in the same hole. Shove her up in there. It goes just like that. And I'm going to move this drain bucket. Now we're going to put our pan back in. We got our gasket back on our pan. Remember I said it was a reusable gasket.
Oh, we need to wipe it off.
Oh yeah. And take a rag and wipe off your outside sealing surface. Get most of the fluid off of there. That way you don't have a simulated leak after you get it on and you think you're leaking. Because it'll come out on the other sides of the gasket. Okay, all the way around.
Okay, why would you not want to spray this with brake cleaner?
Because unless you're doing an overhaul, you don't want brake cleaning stuff in your shift solenoids or in your connectors where it's not going to work once you go back together. Okay, so we're going to go back up, get a couple of these started. I usually do them on the corners. And these, when you're tightening them down, I'm sure there's a torque spec, but I know a lot of you watching don't have torque wrenches. These just need to be snug but not over tight, because it is a rubber gasket, and if you crush it, you'll actually cause a leak. Okay, so here you get the idea. I got one in the front, two in the front, one in the back. I'm going to get the rest of them started and we'll be right back. Okay, now we're back under here. Got all my bolts started. I'm going to show you how to tighten these by hand. You're going to go in until it's just snug. And then about 1/8 of a turn is all you want. Because there's a metal, it's like a reusable gasket. It's got metal in the center, rubber on both sides. It pretty much, once you have that snug like I just showed you, that's all you need. So you're going to go till it's snug, and then 1/8 of a turn on each one.
And when you're doing this, it's best to snug them down. Just use one hand. That helps prevent the risk of over tightening and doing any damage. That's why you see him using just one hand to do it, because it's very easy to do damage and over tighten things if you're using two hands.
And also, that you got to remember, this trans case is aluminum. If you over tighten these, say with an air gun, you're going to strip them out, and then you have nothing to hold your pan in, and it'll have to be rethreaded or replace the case. All right, that's it. We're going to go up top after I wipe all this off, and we will fill it up and show you how to check the fluid level. Okay, now we're up top. We got our pan tight, gasket tight, and we're looking for the transmission dipstick. You got these two heater hoses, and right below that, see your dipstick tube. It's kind of hidden. Okay, so you got your oil fill here. It's right down just to the left of it. We're going to pull that out. We're going to take our long funnel, stick it down in the hole. Okay, should fit nice and snug. And we're going to start with 5 quarts, and we're going to start checking it. This is the Mercom 5 that's required for this vehicle because this is a 4R70W transmission. Some of you, they have a 4R100 or an E4OD. It'll take regular transmission fluid, but this one takes the synthetic.
I'll hold that while you're opening the next one.
All right, got that. Now, if you want to go to the extent to replace all 14 quarts that the transmission requires, it's about 13.9 quarts. There's also a shield under there that you can pull off, and there's a drain plug in the torque converter to get that drained as well. We're not doing it on this one. Customer just wanted a pan and filter change, so we're just going to top it off to where it should be. And we may end up doing something like that on another vehicle, or we can show you in another video. Alright, now remember, you have to check the fluid on a transmission when it's warm and with it running. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start the vehicle. And we'll check our fluid level. Okay, we've had it running about 10 minutes. Now the transmission should be warm enough to check the fluid. We're going to put our dipstick back in the tube. Check our level. Down here, there's the hatch, the little cross hatch marks for high and low. Okay, so do not add up in crotch hatch area. Check when hot. Okay, idling in park. There's pretty clear instructions right on the dipstick. I've already gotten in the vehicle and ran it from drive to reverse 3 or 4 times just to make sure it gets through the gears. Now we're going to pull this out, and we're right here at the top of the hash mark. See it right there? So just a pan and filter is right around 5 quarts. The system holds about 13. Most of it's in the torque converter. On this one, the customer just wanted a new fluid filter and a top off. So that's us at Car Repairs Made Easy. I hope this helped you out so you can work on your own car, and we'll see you next time.